It's time for Talkward, cringeworthy tales. And now, your host, weekly humorist, editor-in-chief, Marty Dundix.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Talkward. I'm Marty Dundix, editor-in-chief of Weekly Humorist magazine, and this is Talkward, a fun little podcast where professionally funny people come to tell awkward and cringeworthy stories. I'm really excited about today's guest. She is a comedy performer and an author, and she has a new book out called The Ex-Boyfriend Yard Sale. Please welcome to the show, Haley McGee. Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm great. Thank you so much for having me, Marty.
This is so exciting. I'm going to throw the book up on the screen so people can see it, but here it is. It's The Ex-Boyfriend Yard Sale, and it is very funny and interesting and quirky, and it's unlike any book that I have read in this genre at all. So it's a really fun read because I didn't have any sort of expectations of this book, and then you start reading the book and you're like, oh, I'm very invested in what this person's going through. And I didn't realize this when I first started reading it because I didn't read all the PR materials. I just started reading the book. It's an autobiography. And
That's
it's
right.
you. I was like, wait, this is the same name as the author, this character in the book that I'm learning all about, which makes it so much more interesting because just the book itself seems like such a crazy story. And then I'm like, oh, no, this actually happened. So now I'm excited to get to ask you so many more questions. So tell us all about the book, The Ex-Boyfriend Yard Sale, and how this came about. Because not only is it a book, I'm going to just talk all over you, but I didn't realize it, but this is a live stage show that tons of people buy tickets to see, and this book is just the latest iteration of this fun, interesting idea.
That's right. It started as a live show. I started as an actor, and then I started writing, and so yeah, it started as a live performance, and now it's a book. But the whole idea started several years ago. I'm Canadian, but I moved to the UK, and within a year of moving to the UK, I burned through my savings and racked up a whole bunch of credit card debt. And around the time that I'd managed to rack up all this debt, I also found myself heartbroken and really struggling for work as a performer in the UK. And so I ended up on the phone with my credit card company, essentially bartering with Visa. And they were saying things like, well, what are you going to do to prove that you can pay down your bill? And I was like, oh, I'm going to sell some things. I'm going to have a yard sale. And then I looked around the place I was living and I realized the only things I could actually sell had all been given to me by different people that I dated over the years. And then I thought, okay, that's interesting, but I'm going to go with it. And I started thinking about how I would price the various things that I have for sale. And probably the most precious, the most financially interesting item is this it's a white gold sapphire and diamond necklace that I have. And I thought, okay, surely the fact that this necklace is from the person that I lost my virginity to should increase its price. I was like, but I told him I loved him and I knew I was lying. So maybe that decreases the price. But when I went to visit him, I took a bus, and on the bus, someone had wedged an X-Acto knife between the seats, and I ended up sitting on it, and it ended up cutting the flesh of my bum. So in a certain way, I suffered a flesh wound for this necklace. So surely that has something to do with the price. And so I became kind of obsessed with this idea of trying to figure out an accurate price for the material things we're left with when a romance dies that takes into account all the ways we invest in our romantic life, time, emotion, money. And so very quickly I thought, okay, no, I'm not going to have an actual yard sale. I'm going to create a show about trying to figure out how to turn sentimental value into cash. And maybe the ticket sales to that will make me a lot more than actually just selling these things in a yard sale. And so that's what I did. I looked at 8 different items and 8 different relationships and tried to mine them and milk them for all the entertainment value they had by breaking them down into their component parts.
And the items that you had were,
and
I have an inventory list here. You have a mixtape, a necklace, a ukulele, a bicycle, a typewriter, a backpack, a jewelry box, and a t-shirt.
Bingo.
So these were your top items from exes that you thought you could monetize.
Yep.
And it's interesting because, it's when you get into discussing, the worth of anything, right? Like, what is anything really worth? It's worth whatever someone else will pay for it.
Yes.
and that's kind of where you start. And then, I was just at the Met Museum over the weekend, and you're looking at stuff it's valuable, and I'm sure it's priced in the millions of dollars for a painting, but like material wise, this painting is exactly the cost of the materials, which would be about
Hmm.
$7, right? Or 15, depending on how big the canvas is. So, what things worth very much change based on the history of the item. So
Yes.
you're telling someone the history of what you went through, and the history of this necklace, and what came and went because of this necklace. And then someone's like, wow, I'll put this on a glass box and a pedestal, and this could be in a museum, and people can come see this necklace
Hmm.
for the things that this girl went through to get it.
Yes. I mean, it's really interesting because what we're really talking here is different economic theories. So I guess there is an economic theory. Now, I'm not a great economist here, but there is an economic theory that says there's a price for everything, even if it's never been bought or sold. But there are other economic theories that say a thing is only worth whatever someone is willing to pay for it. So
Yeah.
I could think that this necklace is actually worth $50,000 because of all of the things that it represents in my life and all the stories connected to it using this fancy mathematical formula that I created with the mathematician. But, if no one's willing to pay that amount for it, how much is it really worth? And what ruler do I want to use?
And here's a photo if people are watching. And if you're listening at home, we'll put a link in the podcast where you can follow Haley on Instagram at Yes Haley McGee, and you can see photos of the actual objects that she has in the show. And this is like her entire romantic past of exes and stuff, and her pricing it. It's a Royal
Exactly.
Canadian Navy T-shirt. We have a nice typewriter. We have this nice ukulele. There's a mixtape here. Oh, this is the necklace.
That's
under
a
the
necklace
glass.
in a little
That's
bell
fancy.
jar. Yeah.
And here's a bike.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the backpack. And this is the brand of the backpack. What is it called? Herschel?
Yeah, it's a denim Herschel backpack, but it's from before they went mainstream.
Before they went big time. The
So
old,
it's
so
good
it
quality.
can hold up. Yeah.
Yeah.
It can hold
Yeah.
up a lot better.
Exactly.
That's such an interesting idea and then how long did the show go? How popular did it get? And then how did you take the show and say, I'm making this into a book?
Well, the show played in London for about a month and it went really well. It sold out. It was really well reviewed. And then it played in Toronto and it sold out a run in Toronto. And then the pandemic happened. And so now the show has been postponed. The subsequent runs of the show have been postponed twice. So we'll be back in Toronto for a month in a larger theater.
Did you get to film it when you were up at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a film of it. It's not a very good film. It's the kind of film that you send to programmers. It's not the kind of film you can put online. But it went really well. It was well reviewed. It was really well attended. And it's going to have a future life. It's just been very slow. Very slow.
You get to play you in the streaming TV version of this, which I would love to watch. Like it's such a relatable thing because we've all been in the situation where we have almost nothing left. I have, and I've been on the phone with the credit card company, and I'm like, I don't have anything. Like I don't have anything. I remember, and I think the most unbelievable part of your book is getting the visa person to give you a month break.
God,
that was the most unbelievable. I was like, yeah, right.
I know. I don't know how I did it. I mean, what they said was that they'll waive my interest.
That person was very nice to you. And you were very honest on the phone with them, pleading your case. And they gave you a break there. We'll give you a month. I'll give you a month before we come break your kneecaps.
Yeah, I know. That was so nice of them. I can't believe they did that. I do think there is a little wiggle room. If you're willing to stay on the phone long enough, if you're willing to invest the time and sort of go up a few people, you usually can manage to get some movement. I got 5 pounds back from Deliveroo the other day, which
that's nice.
But it took an hour on the chat. I don't know if my time's right.
I remember years ago, I was in Chicago at like a bachelor party weekend, and I was the first person to get into town. And I was trying to check into the hotel. And if you're the first person to check into a hotel, what do? They put the whole thing on your credit card at first, like the deposit or the hold or the whatever. They're like, oh, we need a card to let you into the room. And I'm like, And I had like a credit card, and I was like, I don't think I have enough on this credit card to even get into the room. So I
Yeah.
called the credit card company to be like, can you give me, like $100 more of a limit just so I could check into my room?
Yeah.
And the guy, I'm pleading with the guy on the phone, and I'm like, yeah, I just, I'm in a better, I can't check into this room. He goes, oh, actually, there's been an error on your account. And I was like, oh, is there? Do I have more credit? He goes, oh, no, you've got $2,000 less credit. And I was like, what? And then all of a sudden, I was just like in the hole.
Oh,
And everything was like, shut off, shut off, shut off. We had made an error, sir. We should have shut you off months ago. And I was like, oh, crap. And that, so that was very backwards. I was like, God, I wish I had never called the credit
no
card company.
kidding. I feel like they
Yes.
should say it's our mistake, so we're going to keep it how it is.
Not at all.
Oh,
But
no, that's
okay.
terrible. But you
So
didn't
I
have
want to
to
hear
put the
all
deposit on
about.
your card.
Oh no, I couldn't check into the hotel room. I didn't have enough money, so I had gift cards to like a seafood restaurant, and it was like a chain. So I found the seafood restaurant that was 2 blocks away from the hotel, and I just camped out there for like 5 hours, and I ate on this gift card, and I just watched TV and sat at the bar. I had all my luggage. I I was just carting around all these bags. It was sad and funny.
Very resourceful.
Yeah. So this is so exciting that this book is happening. The book maybe wouldn't have happened if you didn't get sidetracked by having the show taken off, right?
Absolutely. The show. So yeah, the show went really well. And there was a piece about the show in The Guardian, which is a big newspaper in the UK. And that's how a few literary agents reached out to me just because of the article in The Guardian. And so, yeah, so I met my agent through that. But the first draft I wrote of the show was 6 hours long, and it's a 90-minute show now, which is a little long for a one-person show. Normally you try to come in around an hour mark. And so I had this 6-hour show. The first time I read it to my director, we were like, good God, it's 60,000 words. And a friend of mine was like, that's a book. You wrote a book. And so I kind of had the idea in my head that it would be a book after being a show, that there was enough material there. But I had no idea how to do it. I'd never written a book, but I did do, I had my little Post-it note on the dressing room mirror that had all the things I wanted to have: 5-star reviews, sold out shows, book deal, TV deal, all the things that I
vision board. You got to have your vision board. But you got to have things on your cork board to keep you going.
But this is a dressing room that I have to share with other people in a venue that does double bill every night. So I just had a very small Post-it note with really cryptic things written on it that only I knew what they meant. So I had that. And then I met this literary agent, and she helped me create a book proposal and sell the book. And so now, then
I love the structure of it too. Like the way, this is so different than an autobiography typically, which is boring, right? And typically someone's just like going on and on about when I was a child and this is how I grew up. And it's so like, I don't know.
There's no childhood in it.
This is, you think it's a work, you think it's just an interesting fiction book. But because of the way you wrote it, like you wrote it as if I'm reading a story, not like I'm being told someone's life story. And it's so much better of an angle, the way that you're telling this. And it's so concise. Like you've introduced the premise of it so quickly in the book that sometimes books take forever to get there. Like, what is this about? And this just gets there. And I think it's great. And you're so concise. And I like that you're just like, here's my inventory of stuff from ex-boyfriends. Let's drill it all down. And then when you get to the 8 items, and then you track down and you work on your formula. So tell me all about the rest. So you end up talking to everybody.
So I find a mathematician to work with me.
To go and make and then maybe they all meet or something, or they talk about you. Maybe I'm seeing myself so do you hunt down exes? Did you have a hard time hunting down exes to interview them about their objects that you were going to be featuring in this show that's going to be about your old relationships? Did anybody say this is a terrible idea, I don't want to be a part of it?
No. I asked 5 of my 8 exes that I was quote unquote featuring in the show. I gave them all a pseudonym. I didn't ask the ones I was afraid to ask. Actually, there was one person who said they would speak to me and then just kind of forgot, and I didn't pursue it. But Yeah, so a few of them I hadn't spoken to in years, and would just try to find them on social media and say, like, would you speak to me? I'm doing this thing. I'm trying to quantify love, and I want to talk about this thing you gave me. Would you be open for a conversation? And by the way, can I record the conversation and maybe play a short clip of it in a live stage show? And yeah, most of them were pretty up for it. Although some of them really gave me a hard time. One of them was campaigning very hard for me to include him in the live show. He was like, I think this works better as a two-hander. I think you should put me in the show. One woman shows about ex-boyfriends at the fucking Fringe. If I had $1, you know what I mean? I was like, oh yeah, you're right. It's not, maybe it's a terrible premise. And he was just angling so hard to be a key player in the show. But I think
how long was he a prime ex-boyfriend? Like, or was he just like a blip?
He was someone who I dated over the course of a year for 6 months. It was one of those, if you added it all up over the year, it was about 6 months. It was very on and off. He was a chronic philanderer. In the wake of our breakup, I discovered that he'd been pursuing and wooing other people the entire time we'd been together. And he had a pattern. He had this very clear pattern that began with a Facebook message proposing "Make You Feel My Love" as our song, followed by a series of transcripts from his journal, followed by a whole bunch of E.E. Cummings poems, and followed by dinner at a very specific restaurant.
I should be writing this down. I need a game plan. I'm doing terribly. This is a good idea. Good stuff.
But in the aftermath of breaking up with him, I kept meeting people in sort of the Canadian arts community. It's back when I was living in Canada. It's a kind of a factory town, the art scene. And people were like, oh yeah, I dated that guy. Did he send you this? And it's sort of by the end of a couple of years, it's like, I know 12 people who've all been put through this pattern.
Yeah.
But I felt very lucky because I kind of knew something was a little bit heightened. He's the kind of person who was proposing to me on our second date, marry me, and slamming his hand down on the table and saying, first time she said no, that's one. It was all kind of a performance. So it was really
it sounds like a performance. This is like a Tinder swindler type person who was going to end up taking your life savings and dashing away on a jet.
The worst he did was, forget his wallet after ordering kind of willy-nilly at a restaurant. He did do that a few times. He's like, anything we want, let's just go nuts. And then the bill would come and he'd be like,
and then he wouldn't have any money.
Yeah, he'd be like, shit, I don't think I have my wallet with me. Can you get this, Dolly? And he called me Dolly, which was there's a lot of like affected things.
Which item was his? His item was the
typewriter.
The typewriter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's a good gift.
It was a great gift.
That's a good gift for especially someone who's in, the writing, performing world. An old typewriter. It's got the handle on it. Does it still work? Does it still work well?
Yeah, it's quite a romantic gift, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
There's something about it's analog, it's a vintage piece. It's very nice color. It's kind of this teal blue color. It's made in Japan. It was a nice gift.
If, when this happens in 20 years, people are going to be looking back on what they got from their exes and it's going to be like, Amazon gift card?
Yeah.
Another kind of gift card? I don't know. Like, it's going to be just like non-tangibles. Non-fungible. It's all going to be non-fungible. Haley, it's just, that could be something too. You could make some cash, start selling some NFTs of the objects, but not the objects.
What would I do? Take photos of the objects and sell the photos?
Yes, as gifts or whatever. Make them sparkling and then make, like a bored panda or bored ape or whatever they are. $9 million of a picture of your typewriter. Or no, $9 million for a picture of the necklace that was given to you by the guy that you lost your virginity to, and you got cut by an X-Acto knife.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't cut me with the knife.
No, but that would have been quite the story.
That would have been
Goodness.
That would have been a story. If it wasn't a memoir and I could make stuff up, that really would have upped the stakes. I think that would have really
your life in the UK, your friends and your situation sounded like fun,
It did when you were reading the book?
Yeah, it just sounds like you have good friends, it sounds like. You have interesting people that are in your life. You've acquired fun, interesting people to hang out with. I'm like, oh, this sounds like fun. I like Haley's life. It seems like a cool jaunt.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I think it is that thing of kind of it's a bit of a self-selection process. I don't have I'm not married and I don't have kids and I'm in my 30s. And so, it's possible to be friends with people who are married and have kids, but it's a different kind of friendship that you have with them. And in a big city like London, there's just a much larger pool of single people or people who are, well, I'm not single anymore. I have a boyfriend now, but, we're not, I know. Oh my God. It's so
Has he
fun.
given you anything yet?
Yeah, he's given me lots of stuff because I met him in March 2020 at the beginning of the pandemic. I mean, I met him on Hinge and then we didn't meet in person till May. But yeah, I know lots of occasions have passed.
Sponsored by Hinge. Hinge, contact us for exclusive partnership money discussions.
Really, they should, because it's a very
this show could be sponsored by or any of the other exes from dating apps.
No.
Ugh.
I know. It was my first time on the apps in February 2020. It's a terrible time to join.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah. But have you done a lot of the apps?
I've done all of the apps. Haley, I'm on all the apps. I've been on all the apps. Since they created the apps, I've been on the apps. Before there were apps, I was on. But at that time, it was just Match.com, and it was just a website.
Plenty of Fish.
Plenty of Fish. That's still there. I think people, it seems really shady on that Plenty of Fish. People are always getting kidnapped. And yeah, I think so. But there was, back in the day, there was something called Nerve.
I don't know.
That was Nerve. Like, I don't know what that was. There were so many dating. Cupid, of course. There's Tinder, of course. There's Hinge. There's Bumble. And I have the exact same profile on every single one. It's the same photos. It's the exact same image. It's like if I could just cookie cutter a profile, just put it on everywhere. And then
are you looking into the camera and smiling with your mouth closed? I read somewhere, I might be messing this up. But there are stats on what first photo has the most success. And I think for women, it's smiling, looking away from the camera. And for men, it's looking into the camera, smiling, but not showing your teeth.
I think I am not showing my teeth in the first photo.
Yeah, I think that's really good. And then also you need to have one holding a pet.
I do not have one holding a pet. I will work on that. I will Photoshop. Yeah, you're right. The first one I have is me just looking like good, but like not teeth. No teeth.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good.
All right, I'll work on that. And also, I was taking stock into my own dating history after reading your book and the premise, and I was trying to think of things I had been given that I still have, and remarkably low amount of gifts,
really,
of tangible items from people along the years that I even can remember, which is depressing. But the stuff that was the most probably monetarily like the nicest things I got were from like high school girlfriend or college girlfriend.
Well, definitely high school, you had disposable income. I mean, remember having a part-time job in high school and living for free?
And no bills,
Yeah.
And it was
so
wonderful.
You just have all this spending money. You just be excited about your next purchase all the time.
Yeah. It was a great time.
What did they give you?
High school girlfriend gave me a like stainless steel like diver's watch. Nice.
Oh my God.
I still have it in a drawer. If I go get new batteries in it, it would work perfectly. It's a great watch. I've always held on to it because I don't wear watches often, but if I need a watch, I would probably wear that one. But it doesn't work. And no one looks at watches anymore. You just look at your phone. Like a watch is purely decorative at this point.
The only time I wish I had a watch is when I'm at the theater, seeing a play. Yeah. And I'm bored. And I'm just going,
get out of here.
I can't look at my phone. It's too
How much longer
to look at your phone. And I'm just like, God damn it. When am I going to get a watch?
Yeah.
When am I going to
When's intermission?
A wristwatch? Yeah, because you're like, I don't know if this has been going on for 20 minutes or an hour and a half. I legitimately can't tell.
Yeah.
And not being able to just tell yourself, look, you only have 40 more minutes to go.
I think I'm the type of person that goes, even if I want to see the show, I'm always like, it's always a countdown until I can go home. Anywhere I go for anything, it's almost, even if it's a fun thing I want to do, it's always a countdown until I can go home. Oh, it's almost intermission. We're at halftime. Yeah. I'm almost home. And then, I go home and I'm just happy. And it's just, why do I even leave? I think just to feel like I'm alive.
So you can look forward to going home.
Exactly. Just to look forward to going home and going
Sometimes
to sleep.
I get so excited to go home and I start fantasizing about taking a bath. I'll be on the bus and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to take a bath. I did it today. I had an audition in town, came home, and at like from like 5:45 till 6:15. I was in the bath just because I'd gotten myself so excited about it while I was.
What was the
commuting
audition
back.
for? I forgot to mention that you're an actress and you were in Doctor Who. You've been in
That's
all
okay.
kinds of stuff.
That's all right. Yeah.
What
it's
kind
one
of
the
acting
things I do.
stuff? What kind of
Well-
acting stuff can people see you in? And what stuff are you up for or working on?
Well, my main thing that I've been doing during the pandemic is a ton of voiceover work, and I mostly do commercial voiceover work. And so I've been the voice of some deodorants that you would have
Very
heard ads
nice.
for in the US.
Okay.
I did some Stella Artois spots that for the US recently.
That's excellent.
Or a year ago or so. Yeah, stuff like that. Lots of deodorants and a Bailey's Deliciously Light. You might have heard my voice on that one.
And that's a great work from home gig.
Yeah, I use this microphone I'm talking to you on now. Although also going to there's like a part of London called Soho where all the kind of media studios are. So a lot in there. But I do that. And yeah, I've been on Doctor Who, which was really cool experience. But mostly I've worked on stage and little film bits here and there. But yeah, most of my acting background has been in live work. But today I was just auditioning for a chicken commercial, really.
Chicken like a takeout place?
I don't know. I actually didn't quite understand the brand. And, sometimes they kind of hide it from you. So, yeah.
Okay.
Playing a sort of Wonder Mom, lots of spinning around and picking up the keys and picking up the baby and taking off someone's stained shirt and putting it back on inside out and all of that kind of thing.
Okay. That sounds like a lot. I hope you got it.
Sing for your supper stuff.
Yes, very much.
Yeah. Take the money and run.
And this show is going to be back on, and its home theater is where again?
It's a great question. I kind of have this life where I'm on both sides of the ocean. So it'll be back on in Toronto for a month, and it was supposed to be on now. It's actually supposed to be kind of opening night tonight, but it's instead going to be on in October because in Canada, the theaters were mandated to close in the new year. Yeah. So
you're going Toronto to UK quite often? The family's in
Canada.
Toronto?
Well, no, nobody is actually in Toronto anymore, but everyone's sort of somewhere between a 2-hour drive and a 6-hour airplane ride of Toronto, but all in Canada. And then I'm over here in the UK.
And I don't want to ruin the book, and I don't want to, do any spoilers or anything like that. But everything that happens, the arc that happens in the book, that all happens.
It all happens.
That's so perfect.
Do you want,
it's like when you read the book.
Context?
Sure. Yeah. Tell a little bit more. I don't want to unravel your story. You tell it.
I think we can just say that one of the exes whose items I'm going to sell ends up coming back into my life, and the book, which is all about trying to understand how to value, stuff from our past. Going through that experience really helps me sort of get to a new place in my relationship with this ex. It teaches me in a certain way about my own self-worth, which makes dealing with this ex or this on and off relationship, it brings a new clarity to that. Is that what you were referring to?
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, you started the project and then this happened, like, kind of because you started this project, because you started, like, there was a catalyst, and the catalyst was, I need money, what can I do? And I'm just going to be a self-starter and create this situation where this is going to be a show. And then in the process of creating the show, the story evolved.
Yeah.
And, it was like writing itself, like where maybe you started here and you're like, this is going to be the show. Like, you're going to map it out. You're going to write it down. You can maybe, write a whole storyline based on what happened in the past.
Yeah.
And then as the project started, it then took its own life along a new path. And it's almost like you were kind of writing as things like are actually happening.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Well, yeah. And the ending of the stage show is very different from the ending of the book, because where I was at in my love life when I finished the show was really different than, 2 years later when I finished the book. And so now I've rewritten the end of the stage show as well.
Okay. And the people that saw the stage show, you can be like, hey, you gotta buy tickets to see the new show.
Gotta see the new ending.
And you gotta buy the book because it's totally different than what you guys saw. That's amazing.
Yeah. The book definitely goes a lot deeper into my own personal life and there's just things that I could write about in the book that I couldn't, I don't even know if I could say on stage. There's kind of,
It's easier to write personal things in a book than it is to say it in front of a bunch of people who are looking at you.
yeah, I mean, I definitely say a lot of personal things in the show, but there are things when I was writing the show that didn't even occur to me until I sat down writing the book, because suddenly in a book, you can really flesh out a scene. You could talk about the nuances of kind of silent communication between someone that you're dating, that there's a lot of tension with. You can kind of explore those things with a lot of nuance. The way, when you're on stage, it's like, don't waste people's time. We've got to move through this with a certain rhythm and with a certain.
There's someone in the audience who's just looking at their watch, waiting to go home.
Bingo. They're like, don't wax on about the look in someone's eye, and then just things too. I think it didn't even occur to me early on. Like, I mean, there's silly things. Like I talk about the fart point in the book, which is like when you finally feel comfortable farting in front of a partner, which just didn't occur to me when I was writing the stage show. And I'm like, I can't believe that didn't occur to me. But somehow being mired in the book, there's some really silly things like that. And then some more profound philosophical things as well about, the nature of why we want a relationship so badly and why we're willing to hold on to them at, sometimes great cost to our own selves and our own evolution. So we're so afraid sometimes of being single that I think that it becomes very easy to hang on to stuff that is just not working anymore.
Yes, agree. I enjoy being single. I love being single now. I think when you have groups of friends, when everyone's taking that, I had a lot of friends that got married very young, and then there was kind of a break. And then a bunch of those people got divorced, and then there's a break, and then people get remarried, and then people get married a little late, and then people have kids and buy houses and all move away, and then you feel like, oh, was I supposed to do that? And then and then I think, wow, I'm so happy not doing that, and it's nice. It's nice to be completely in control of everything I want to do at every given moment, which sounds super selfish. And I think that I definitely want to meet somebody, get married, have kids, do all that stuff. But I also enjoyed not needing to worry about other people's needs all the time also.
I think there's a real thing that happens where we decide that certain life events are going to give our lives meaning. And I've definitely been guilty of this and have huge empathy for it. And I think it's a big thing that I write about in the book, but we decide finding love is going to give my life meaning. And then I don't have to worry about how I actually want to contribute to society, because love is everything. Love is the most important thing. My relationship's the most important thing. And if I can just figure that out, then I don't have to kind of face any kind of existential crisis about what am I actually on the planet to do. And I think the same thing happens around having kids. And I don't think it's gendered. I think a lot of people feel like I'm going to have kids and that's going to give me purpose. And that's going to be my contribution to the world. And good parenting is absolutely an important contribution. But I think, it's a lot of pressure to put on a child to say, you're just unconsciously say, or non-verbally say, you are here to give my life meaning. And so it's just something I think about a lot.
And hopefully that kid does good and doesn't do something absolutely terrible, and become a horrible criminal. And it's just like, sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes those kids are jerks,
Or it's just too much pressure, if you're sensing on some level that your parents really, really need you to make them feel good about themselves. It doesn't really hand someone their own life and let them flourish. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry. This is not funny. This is just me talking, doing philosophical talk.
But I mean, that doesn't mean that you're not going to have kids down the road, or you don't want to get married. See. I mean, all that kind of stuff.
I definitely don't want to get married. I'm a hard no on that.
Me either. I don't really want to get married either.
I don't want to get married. I like the idea of having a lifelong conversation with someone. I think that's very romantic, but I couldn't care less about having a wedding.
I don't want like that piece of paper that says if they get mad at me and divorce me, they get half my stuff for no reason. And you're kind of like, what? Why did I sign that? That doesn't make any sense.
I don't want the speeches. I don't want the dress. I don't want the caterers. I don't want the food. I don't want the performance of it.
I take the
Everything
gifts.
about it.
Everything else,
You
I'll
take
have
the
the
gifts.
registry, but no wedding. That's the best possible outcome.
You know what? I think a lot of people would really appreciate that.
Yeah.
I would appreciate it if someone was like, "Can you please just buy me something off this list, but not come and take time off work and
Yeah,
make
yeah.
a
We don't have to
trip
do
and
anything. We don't have to do that anymore. I think.
yeah, make conversation with people that you
Yeah.
don't know, like all of that." Yeah.
How about we skip all that? We skip the flights and the hotels and the stuff, and you just give me something off this list, and we're done, and that's it.
Yeah.
I think that'd be
That-
great. I think
that-
people would be all over that.
That would be nice. That would be nice.
We can just
Or
do it on
just-
Zoom. You know, do the whole thing on Zoom. Everyone's
It
just in their
seems
underwear.
Weddings so often run away from people, and then there's suddenly all these people there that they're not even that connected to. And when people are getting married, it's like the bride and groom can't look anity in the eye. They're so distracted.
They're so tired. They never get to sit
Yeah.
down. It's
They
like
never
the
get to sit
wedding
down.
is like the busiest, most fulfilling day. It's just like shaking hands and hugging and
Yeah.
thanking people for going to the event that, you know, maybe they would have been okay if it got canceled. Everyone's in the back of their head like, is this going to get canceled? Like, if this gets canceled, that's okay. I'll still give you the gift. You know, I'm going to a
Yeah.
wedding at the end of the month, and I'm just because I mean, like, it's it's COVID, so it's like,
Yeah.
is it going to get canceled?
Might get canceled.
Might get canceled. Can I get a
And-
refund on all that stuff? I mean,
and
I'll still send the gift. I'll send a
course.
better gift. I'll send a
Yeah.
better gift if I don't have to go. You know, that's kind of how I'm. If I don't go to a wedding, the gift is going to be better. Which should be an
Absolutely.
incentive to
Yeah.
maybe people should do destination weddings or whatever. Invite 10 people,
Yeah.
family members, and
Yeah.
then say we're going to have a little thing at our home city later, and you can come to that. And I'm like, that sounds great.
But I like this idea that you should have 10 people max at a wedding, because that's really about, I mean, now I'm really getting in the weeds here. But this is not, anyway, whatever. This
Your
is my
next book
opinion.
can be all about the modern wedding.
Yeah. Tips for weddings from someone who's never been married and probably never going to get married.
I'd buy that. That'd be a great gift. I would give that to everybody.
Oh God, like parenting advice from the childless.
Yeah, exactly.
Yikes. It's horrible. But yeah, I'm liking this idea. 10 people max. I just wanted to say that I don't think you should have to have those people be your family, because some people really don't want their family there. It'd be very stressful.
It adds a lot of stress.
10 favorite people.
10 favorite people. So is that like 5 per partner?
5 each.
It's
Or
not-
maybe you
it's
just
not even
negotiate.
it's not even like a divisible number. That could be tough. I don't know. Where there's always going to be that one person that's like uncoupled. So I'll be there by myself as like, you know, I'll be that 5th wheel or 7th wheel or whatever.
You'll be the one single person on one side, and then there'll be someone who's there alone from the
That
other
is
side.
always the way it goes at weddings. It's great. You can always make friends at weddings.
You can.
You should always go to a wedding single.
I went to a wedding single a few years ago and was hit on by a married guy who was there without his wife and kids. And I found that very distressing.
Yes. Well, that
I thought,
situation
we're at a wedding.
outside of anything would be distressing.
Yeah, it's not great outside of anything,
No.
but at a wedding.
Where
At a
everybody
wedding.
knows that you're married with a kid.
But also, it's like, this is about the sanctity of promising your life to someone and making vows. And you're just undermining the whole event. You just here at a wedding to try to cheat on your wife. And he didn't
But
just
was
hit
the
on
food
me.
good?
I mean, he was like testing. It was like, is it you? Is it you? Is it you? You? Someone
He was
interested?
just fish. Yeah, he was just
Yeah.
going. He was casting a wide net.
It wasn't a compliment. It wasn't like, oh, Haley, there's really something about you. You know, there's nothing.
Haley,
like
I
that.
want to throw my entire life away for you.
Yeah, no.
He's
No.
like the guy who always forgot his wallet and proposed to you on the first date. I've asked you
Oh.
once, Dolly.
Dolly. I know. What a nickname. Yeah.
So now that you've written one book
Mhm.
and you wrote a book, and that's amazing because you weren't even trying to be a writer. You just decided to write a book.
Mm.
Some people, you know, they write and write and write and write for their entire, and then they finally write a book. And you were just kind of like, I think I wrote this play, and I think it'd be a good book. And then you just wrote a book.
Yeah, and
That's
then
amazing.
I thought I'd really like to write a book. And then I wrote a book.
So is there going to be a sequel to the book?
I don't want to write about my life anymore.
Okay. So that you've done that. Now that's done. So
maybe in 20 years I'll have something new to say, but I certainly couldn't
what would
write about my
another
life.
book be about? Would it be a murder mystery? I always wanted to
Ooh,
write a murder mystery.
I definitely want to write a novel. I want to,
Mhm.
my next book, I just want to write a fictional story um, that has nothing to do with my lived experience. So I want to do that. Yeah.
Because you're unencumbered when you're writing a novel. You could write about anything. Did you find yourself while writing this book? You're like, oh, this would be better if I could change these details, but I can't
Of course,
because
because
it's real.
your storytelling instincts and your comedic instincts start kicking in, and you're like, oh my God, if this happened, it would really raise the stakes. If this happened, it would be such a great twist. If this happened, it would be so interesting. But because because I sold a book that's about my life and it's supposed to be true, I could, there's a few liberties that I could take, but I couldn't really let myself go wild. And I think, yeah,
Your
after a certain
editor's
point,
like,
it
so
feels
Haley, in the 8th chapter
restrictive.
where there's time travel, did that happen?
I'm like, I know, but I just think it really adds something really interesting to the texture of the book. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm really keen. And also the thing is, when you write a novel, you can take from your own life. You
Yeah.
change a few details around. You can, in a certain way, I think, steal more ruthlessly from your own life and
Yeah.
talk about people that you know, or talk about yourself in a way without having to be worried at all about people knowing that it's you.
Yeah.
So that kind of excites me too. The mask, in a certain way, liberates even more.
Yeah, because
maybe.
you can take from real experience, but then you
Yeah.
get to heighten and embellish and
Yeah.
have fun with and just kind of go nuts. Where your first foray into writing, you were kind of constrained, but luckily you're an incredibly interesting person with a story that was very fascinating, but true, which is
Oh,
amazing. Most people
thank
don't
you.
have that. Most people have boring lives. But this actually is like, a fascinating thing with a real like ending and stuff. Incredible.
It has an ending. Yeah.
Because all the Hollywood executives, I don't want to brag, but all the Hollywood executives, Haley, they're all listening to this podcast and they're going to be like, this guy is going on and on about how this book is going to be an amazing streamer. I got to get this before Apple TV grabs it. So we'll see.
Let's see.
When there's a bidding war between Netflix and Hulu and Apple TV.
Oh my God.
We'll see. And then, you could play you pretty convincingly.
Do you think?
I mean,
am I aging out of myself?
I don't know if you're tall enough for, the Haley McGee that I have in my head, but the only photo I have is you sitting down, so I have no idea how tall you would be.
I'm 5'5".
Okay,
I'm
that's
very average, very average height.
Okay.
When I was a little kid, I used to do these epically long improvs. I would try to, when my parents had friends over, I would try to do like improvised performances for them. And my dad started making me promise before I started that whatever I was going to do had a beginning, middle, and end, and that
he was already looking at his watch.
He was. Oh my God, that's where I get it from. Yeah. But it was.
I just want to know when I can wrap this up.
Really, I need to know.
I really want to take a bath. So you're a comedy person. So who are your? I mean, if you're an improv person, who are your comedy improv heroes? Because I mean, it kind of feels like right now there's a golden age for improv comics being on major mainstream shows like. I'm just watching the After Party right now on Apple TV, and it's like Sam Richardson and it's Ben Schwartz, and it's like it's all these great comedic guys who all came up in improv, UCB, Groundlings, and stuff like that. Is that kind of the improv training that you had?
It's so interesting. So I kind of backed into improv. I did the Second City Conservatory when I lived in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
They had a course called Improv for Actors, and I was like, I think I like comedy. I'm going to try this after I had done theater school. And so I did that. I did the Improv for Actors, and then I did the audition for the conservatory. I did the conservatory for a year, and then I was just very busy acting. And I was like, you know what, improv's not for me. It's not my thing. And I especially was like, sketch comedy is not my thing. I don't get it. I'm not connecting with it.
You're not yes-anding enough.
I wasn't yes-anding enough, or I just had really weird ideas when we were putting our kind of show together for the end of the conservatory. I'd be like, I have an idea that during the blackout, we should come onto the microphone and do little bits like, Dad, what? I got my period. And then the lights come up and it's just a different scene. And our director was like, no.
In the world of yes and, to that I say no.
I wanted to do performance art. I wanted to do experimental performance art shit, and it was just not. It was not happening at all.
And they were
So
like, I don't think so.
yeah,
Well, what if I come out with a tampon and I light it on fire? I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so.
So fine. So then I had a break from it. And then after I moved to the UK, I was making one woman shows and doing a lot of voiceover work where you don't, two things that are very lonely. And I was like, I got to meet some people. I guess I'll sign up for improv. It's really not a thing in London.
Yeah.
But there's this school and theater called the Free Association. So I started doing the classes there, and then I did all the classes, and then I was on the Herald team for 2 years, and now I'm on one of their shows called.
Oh wow, that's huge! Being on a Herald team, that's like being on the House team.
It was so fun,
yeah.
And now I'm on a team. Now I'm on one of their like flagship shows called St. Doctor's Hospital, which is an improvised medical drama.
That sounds
it's
awesome.
A hoot.
Yeah,
it's so fun, and that's been glorious because it's been just a real sense of community and also just totally different kind of chops, and it really helps with writing,
yeah, it forces your imagination to just be like,
yeah,
it's like going to the gym for your comedicness. You're just like, you're constantly being put on the spot to come up with ideas that you never would have had just sitting here at a computer,
Yes. And also just it got me thinking about premise in a whole new way and thinking about character in a new way and complicating things and raising the stakes and yeah, so I love it. And, I feel like this is a terrible answer, but my childhood comedic influences are Robin Williams, Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah.
Jim Carrey in Ace Ventura 1 and 2.
Sure.
And then probably, Catherine O'Hara, my God.
Oh, yeah.
Starting in Home Alone and taking it all the way up to Schitt's Creek.
All the way up to Schitt's Creek, where they shot all that in Canada. That was all Canada.
Yeah.
Go Canada there for one of the best comedy series in recent memory.
I know.
Such a great show.
Great. It's so great. It's so confident in what it is. And it's such a kind show while also being just like so joke dense. It's really impressive.
Yeah. Comedic density. Definitely.
Yeah.
So funny and so much. And then it's one of those shows that people, I guess, really maybe binged during the pandemic, and they kind of discovered it. And then it found like this, insane following of people who were just obsessed with it. And rightfully so. Like, I loved it. And then getting to see their final, where they got to go and like see the fans and do the big tours and stuff, and like getting to like, meet and greet all the people and see how they touched and changed people's lives and changed people's minds and empowered people. It was a moving show. Like, it just did so much more than your typical sitcom achieves. It was incredible. It was like this, and Eugene Levy's so funny. I mean, the classic Canadian, SCTV, just all those guys.
I know.
And seeing guys like Martin Short right now on like Only Murders in the Building with Steve Martin, which is one of my favorites. Like they're still doing it. They're still out there making comedy, and like they're from a class of the Canadian comedians that were so influential. You know?
I know. It's such a special kind of group, isn't it? Mark McKinley. Oh my God, wasn't he so good on Superstore?
Yeah, so good, so good.
Yeah. And, Lauren Ash, who's on Superstore, she's someone who I'd seen in Toronto on the Second City main stage when I was really young. It's just amazing seeing those people. And, have you been to Toronto?
I haven't been to Toronto.
It feels, it's small. It's kind of this small-ish city where you kind of know people. And Canada doesn't really have a star system in the same way. So people are they're just gigging. They're just doing their thing in Toronto. And then, there's a few who just have this incredible ascent and become these massive superstars. It's so exciting. And you see, you knew they were incredible when you saw them live in the little venue. And then to see them just being absolutely hysterical on these huge TV shows is so exciting.
You're up there with them right now.
Let's see.
You got this big book. I'm going to throw it up on the screen again so people can see if they're watching at home. It's The Ex-Boyfriend Yard Sale by Haley McGee. It is a autobiography, but it feels like you're reading a novel because it's so interesting and well written. It's such a cool story arc. It's a live show in the UK that's going to be starting up again soon with a new ending. So people, if you're in the area, they should be looking at doing that. And TV producers, hey, you gotta option this because it's going to be an amazing thing to watch because it's such a simple premise. I think that the thing about it and why it's such a cool story is it's not complicated, and you get right down to it. And I love that it's only 8 items.
Yeah.
You're just like, how about these 8 totally different items, and let's go through each one and figure out the background and how the background adds to the value, and pluses or minuses.
Yeah.
And then make some money.
Exactly. And hopefully let go of the past.
Does she let go of the past? You'll have to get the book to find out. I think, right?
I think that's right. Yeah, I don't think I should say.
We don't want to say.
I don't want to spoil anything.
Well, we know that you met somebody on Hinge. But
I know it's true. I keep talking about that.
No one's going to pay attention to this.
No. But you know, I really didn't want the book to end with like, and then she's in love and everything's fine.
Yeah.
It was really important to me not to write a book about that, because there's so many things like that are about like, oh, I tried to really make this project about being single, but then I fell in love. And I think, well, come on, let's actually explore the merits of being single and explore the merits of ending relationships, that there's
and
value
I like
in
the realism that you bring to the story is something that's lost in television and books for people. Is things are expensive, and it's hard to keep a budget, and it's hard to live in this world because things are too expensive and you don't have any money, and then everything's hard. So it's like the book is realistic because you have a real problem. I don't have any money, and my credit cards are maxed out. What I do have is a bunch of failed relationships, and I have the remnants of those relationships in my apartment, and I need to have a yard sale, and I'm going to raise some money to figure that out.
Yeah.
And it is a very it is a very, I don't want to say not common problem. It's a relatable problem that most people can get. They're like, yep, been there.
Yeah.
I've been broke. I got junk. I mean,
and just
you can just see from behind me. I got clutter. We all have stuff. We have stuff we don't need. We have bric-a-brac. We have things we find at garage sales and secondhand shops and things that were given to us by family members. And you're just like, I can't throw this away. So I have it. I have them all. I'm surrounded by stuff all the time.
Your memorabilia. Oh, yeah. And there is something about holding on to our past experiences as kind of objects.
Yeah.
The way that we kind of like canonize experiences that we had, and we tell the story over and over and over, and we kind of polish it.
I just remembered 2 things that I have that are like, bric-a-brac junk objects around my apartment. They're actually from an ex-girlfriend.
What are they?
I don't know if she's watching. She's not going to be watching this. She's a nice person.
Okay.
We had a very nice time.
Great.
I have this.
Oh my God, E.T.
This is an E.T. stuffed animal. And then I have something else random that's in my kitchen. But I have a couple of things because when we dated, I live in New York City and she was moving to Los Angeles, and we met and hit it off, but she had already planned on moving to Los Angeles. So we had like a month and a half relationship that it was already ended. It was ended before it started. But it was fun. And I have a couple of things that didn't make it to LA with her that I just have sitting around.
I think those relationships that have a finite time frame can be really nice.
Yeah, those are the ones I end up always in. And they always end well.
They end well.
I've an ex that's she's Polish. She's Polish. She works in an art gallery in Warsaw, I think, and she's an art PhD and worked at auction houses, and very the whole thing's very very artsy and romantic. Delightful person.
Yeah.
I drove her to the airport when she went back, and she's gone.
Yeah. So nice.
It's nice. It's a good collection of friends.
A lot of touring, maybe around 5-6 years ago. I was touring a lot in Europe, and I had a lot of those. I was like, well, I'm gonna be here for 2 weeks, so. And I have
fall in love for 2 weeks. It's wonderful.
Fall in love for 2
it's okay. It can be
also,
just as fulfilling a relationship and happy for that month than some of these things that last for years and you're never actually happy.
But also it gives you a kind of freedom because it's going to end. And so you're not going like,
you're not looking at everything like commitment.
Forever.
Right.
Because that's really annoying because I don't know if I can sign up for that. You're not, or this little issue that we have, I don't know if I could deal with that forever. You're just kind of going like,
I can deal with it about 2 weeks.
That's just them. I'm going to be out of here soon. And it just makes for a much more easygoing,
Yeah.
relaxed atmosphere that I so wish I could bring, to my
I feel
boyfriend
like
now.
people look at whatever the situation is with a significant other in the very beginning, and it's always like, can I deal with this forever?
Yeah.
Which is such a big thing to say, right? You're just like trying to go on a second date with somebody. And you're
Yeah.
like, God, am I going to have to put up with this forever?
Yeah.
And then you're just like, you've already doomed it. You're done. This relationship it's over before it even started, because you put the brakes on it, because, the way that they ordered they added a weird accent to a word on the menu.
Yeah.
And you're like, no.
Yeah. You're just like, oh no, I know about people who do that.
No.
Yeah.
Over enunciation of some word? No. I'm
Hard
done.
no.
Out. Hard no.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
It's so easy to shut people down. I mean, it's so easy to protect ourselves too by just finding fault
Yeah.
and deciding that it's not worth the risk. Yeah.
And you found out some of these things, and when you were drilling down in these objects and going back in the relationships and learning about the exes and things like that, you learn about yourself.
Oh, big time. I'm extremely critical.
Mm-hmm.
That came up again and again and again.
Also a very relatable thing.
As I look back on my exes, it's probably the number one complaint about me is how critical I am. And I mean, it's humiliating, the things I criticize, where someone hung his coat in my apartment. I just hated how he always hung his coat in this one place. It was a totally acceptable place to hang a coat, but I wanted it on the hanger, it was obnoxious. It was obnoxious. And I look back on it and I think, what was that
you're
really
overcritical.
about?
Yeah.
I'm really overcritical, and it's not good. It erodes
It was never
trust.
about the coat, Haley.
Of course it wasn't about the coat, but I wish I could have figured that out way earlier. So I wasn't so horrible to this person. You
live and learn. It's all about, well, the book, and and this is also a relatable thing is, I think people think about their past relationships and maybe what they did wrong, or what what they were perceived as doing wrong, and what actually happened. And it's a very interesting idea to go back and talk to people from your past to kind of get their viewpoint on what you were certain of 17 years ago. And now you hear it from them and you're like, really? God, I'm horrible.
Yeah. Or, I also had the opposite experience of the first person I ever dated, my high school boyfriend. He, essentially broke up with me to date someone else. And the very next day, but possibly overlapped it. And I remember being devastated at the time, just devastated. And feeling, that horrible feeling when that happens to you and you're young and you're heartbroken for the first time and the other person's moved on and you think you should be ashamed, but you're not. You're happy. You're happy in a new relationship. And so you don't even feel embarrassed, and just the injustice of that. And then I talked to him, literally 16 years later. And he said to me, and I wasn't expecting it at all, I think we were talking and I said something like, he was like, I've always felt really bad the way that I ended that. And I was like, oh, come on. Didn't you just like someone else? It's fine. And he's like, no, I felt like through that experience, I learned that I could be a piece of shit dude like everybody else. And until then, I'd always thought of myself as a pretty stand-up guy. And it was really eye-opening for me because I'd kind of forgotten about the pain of it. Yeah. And then B, that it had such an impact on him when I assumed that it hadn't at all, was really interesting and really kind of amazing. Yeah.
And then years later, now you have like kind of resolution and closure that people are always
wanting,
yearning for and hoping for.
Yeah. But the ironic thing is by the time you get it, you don't need it anymore.
You don't need it. You're beyond it.
When you want it from the person, you're not going to get it. And then when you don't want it anymore, then you'll run into them somewhere and they'll be like, I'm really sorry about that thing. You'll be like, yeah, that's nice, but I forgave you in my own.
I forgot about that years ago.
It. Yeah.
The book, The Ex-Boyfriend Yard Sale by Haley McGee. Also, have you ever heard of the character of the books? My favorite book series is by John D. McDonald, and the character is named Travis McGee.
No.
You should check it out because you guys share a last name. He's like a kick-ass. He was the first like anti-hero sort of, not police detective type, like helping people with their problems.
Travis McGee.
Travis McGee. There's like 50 of these books.
Oh,
They're like a
wow.
whole detective series. He lives on a boat in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. He's like a bum. It's great.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I don't read a lot of detective stories. It's not my go-to genre. I'm more of a literary fiction kind of person, but maybe I'll give it a try.
Give it a try. I'll send you the links. You got to check them out.
Okay, great.
Everyone else should be checking out The Ex-Boyfriend Yard Sale by Haley McGee, on sale now. It's available everywhere. You can get it on Amazon. It comes out from Penguin. And then also follow Haley at Yes Haley McGee on Instagram and Twitter. And you can see the items, and you can learn about the book and the live show and all of these wonderful things. And this has been so nice getting to know you today, Haley. Thank you so much for coming on Talkward. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed myself.
Well, good luck with the book, and I'm so excited for you and where your career is going to go. And don't forget us little people who got to talk to you in the beginning.
Oh, come on.
I'll be listening for you on the deodorant commercials, though.
Yeah, do.
All right. Everyone go listen for the deodorant commercials in the United States. It's Haley. Can you give us a clue of what is said in the ad? Your armpits won't smell anymore. With Sure. Is that it? I think that's it. All right. We're going to go. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Listen and subscribe at weeklyhumorist.com and follow us online at Talkward. I'm Marty Dundix. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to Talkward. Please subscribe, follow us, and visit weeklyhumorist.com.